What happens when your once close daughter starts pulling away? Have you noticed turbulent mood swings, silence, maybe fear, and experienced the accompanying heartache from this disturbing change? In our next podcast, we're going to be talking about the developmental changes between mothers and teen daughters, and how to stay connected when it feels impossible.
Mood swings are normal. We all know that. But what we worry about, I think, as mothers is what if there's depression or shutdown or even self-harm happening? So in this episode, we talk carefully and compassionately about the challenges mothers face with teen daughters and what support actually helps. If your teen daughter seems moody, distant, or struggling emotionally, and you don't know how to reach her anymore, you are not alone.
Please join us as we unpack what's really happening during adolescence. We will discuss how you mothers can respond with connection instead of panic, and ways that you can preserve and protect your relationship as your daughter navigates her journey toward adulthood. Have you ever longed to be able to talk about values and morals or faith and spirituality without feeling judged? Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Mindful Moments, Insights to Empower the Soul. This podcast will empower you to embrace your true self. Hi, I'm Dr. Debi Gilmore.
And I'm Sharilyn Green. We are marriage and family therapists with a passion for building healthy relationships. I'm excited about this, Debbie. I've been thinking about it this morning because today we're going to discuss a topic that resonates probably with at least you or someone that you love. Today we're going to talk about mothers who feel like their relationship with their teen daughters has suddenly changed. And for daughters who may feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or alone, we're here to help you too. So we're talking about the developmental changes that happen during female adolescence and why this season can feel so intense for both moms and daughters.
It can be so scary and so painful. And you know, what prompted this podcast actually is one of my clients that said, please do a podcast, help us understand what is happening and the painful disconnect that suddenly starts up. And you wonder, is this lost forever? If your teen daughter is pulling away or struggling emotionally, this conversation is for you. If you've noticed mood swings, emotional shutdowns, pushing you away, anxiety, depression, or even self-harm behaviors, you're not imagining things and you're not failing as a parent. What you're seeing is often a collision of biology, identity formation, and shifting attachment needs. It's part of that developmental process of leaning outside of the home instead of leaning in as young children do. Maybe you miss the closeness that you once had with your daughter. The mood swings and those shutdowns and emotional struggles can leave moms feeling helpless. Today, we're going to talk about why this season is so hard and what actually can be helpful.
Yeah, so we want to slow this down, right, Debbie? We want to, first of all, name what's happening and then talk about how you can stay connected, even when it feels like your relationship with your daughter may be damaged beyond repair. That can be a really scary thought for moms. Wow, is this ever going to get better? And so moms, if your teenage daughter feels moody or distant or like a stranger lately, we really want to emphasize that you're not alone. This is a common experience for mothers and daughters through this developmental stage, like you've talked about. We want to slow down and look at the teen brain and ask what's really happening in there. So when motherhood meets adolescence, right? It's like fear and love colliding all at the same time. We go from mood swings to depression to self-harm concerns. And we want to talk compassionately now about what moms need to know and how you can respond with calm, connection, and hope.
Yes, hope is the main thing. Just to know it's normal that these future mothers and nurturers in their home, they have to go through a process of not severing all ties, but, leaning out and experimenting. Who am I really? Adolescence isn't just a phase, it's a full developmental renovation. The mess that you go through when you renovate your kitchen or bathroom. Yes, been there, done that. It is a mess and it's pretty disturbing. And you wonder if you will ever emerge from the dust and the disarray. Young girls hit a major shift in development at about 11 or 12 years of age. The physiological changes that they experience are rapid hormonal shifts that intensify emotions, and it's a development. The brain is changing, the brain is growing. The prefrontal cortex, which actually impacts impulse control and emotional regulation, or heightened sensitivity to social evaluation and rejection, and a new intense drive for independence. It is the brain regulating all of this. If you think about it, when someone experiences a TBI or a traumatic brain injury and it's in the prefrontal cortex, it can completely alter their personality. So her brain is growing, developing, changing. This means your daughter may feel emotions more intensely than she ever has, but have fewer tools to manage them. She's experiencing this, but she doesn't know what to do about it. Maybe she's always been somewhat sensitive, but suddenly that sensitivity has become tumultuous, unpredictable, and disturbing. So when she snaps, when she withdraws or says things that she doesn't mean, it's not because she doesn't care. It's often because she cares too much and doesn't know what to do with the flood of those feelings. I think the most damaging thing we can do for these little girls becoming women, is to say, you're too sensitive. That instantly can cause them to self evaluate and think, oh, emotion isn't okay.
It really is a time of a lot of emotional upheaval.
Yeah.
And I love the way you've explained this, Debbie. And we know with you, mothers, that one of the most painful parts of this season, I love the way you compared it to a renovation, right? It is messy and it is disturbing. One of the painful parts in this really messy developmental process is that mothers start to feel this emotional distancing, right? Starting with early adolescence, kids do begin to move away from their parents' influence and of course lean more towards their peers, their friends. That's who they want to be with and hang out. They want to spend less time with you. And you also notice, and this is maybe the most painful part of all, is that they become less likely or wanting to share their inner emotional world with you. And that's so painful because that's something that you've shared together usually until this point, and you fill that void when she shares less about her inner world. And in fact, she can be annoyed by your presence or advice, and again turn toward other people and to online spaces, and that can be painful. So the interesting thing about this is it's the paradox really that mothers are in developmentally because, as you've said and explained, teens of course need to separate, they need to differentiate, right, in order to form their own identity, but emotionally they still need a safe base. And so it is this really interesting line that mothers are walking.
And you know what's so interesting about this, Sherilyn, is that we as women went through all this, but we don't remember. And with this relationship that has been maybe relatively fulfilling, is now changing. And that loss, no, we can't remember what it was like. Maybe we do. If you kept a journal, which I did, and review some of those pages, it's pretty tumultuous. So, ironically, many daughters push hardest against the parent they feel safest with. So maybe you have spent the last decade growing closer and closer and experiencing these wonderful moments of connection, building rewarding memories. Now your daughter suddenly pushes back. She's creating more space and showing less interest in being with you. That's heartbreaking. So, this isn't abandonment. It's important to see it that way. It's what we call differentiation, or let's simplify that term, an adjustment in how she relates to you, her parent, and the importance she places on friends. So, mood swings are common in adolescence, not just girls, boys too. But these daughters experience persistent sadness, numbness, and irritability or hopelessness that deserves attention and may signal there are deeper issues. So, what we want you to do is be aware that depression in teen girls doesn't always look like crying. You might notice symptoms like withdrawal, sleeping too much or too little, and loss of interest in things she once loved. If there's a change in her appetite and her sleep patterns and it's prolonged, we do want to highly recommend that you have that evaluated. It's not a bad thing to check in, and even seeking a professional to have maybe one session to evaluate what is really going on here.
Yeah, Debbie, I think you're talking about, as mothers, we do know that there's a normal distancing, right? But then there's the fear of, is this crossing into kind of a shadow side that I do need to be worried about? And so you're starting to express some of this. When, as a mother, do we need to do more to care for our daughters when some other things might be going on that require more help, maybe even professional help? So there can be an increase in bouts of anger, emotional flatness, a sense of being empty or done. And so when a daughter shuts down emotionally, it's often because she is feeling overwhelmed, ashamed, or afraid of being a burden. She may not want to freely initiate a conversation about what she's feeling or thinking. And again, what she needs the most in these moments isn't fixes from you, but just your presence. We want to talk about self-harm and risky coping, right? When this part of natural development can shift into something more worrisome. And self-harm is something that has to be handled with such great care. It's something, sadly, that we see quite often in girls who are less likely to share openly, and they withdraw or they cope by withdrawing with emotional pain. I know that self-harm is a serious symptom that needs to be addressed at the first sign that it's happening. We know that some teen girls turn to self-harm, not because they want to die, but because the emotional pain that they're experiencing as a teenager is unbearable. And so physical pain feels more controllable, and it creates this kind of temporary relief or grounding in them that gives relief.
It's a very serious topic. It's actually addictive. This behavior is coping with the intense emotions that are happening, and prolonged. As I said, it becomes a habit and a way that they privately deal with their pain. So if you notice any signs of this, gently and as lovingly as possible, get your daughter help. She doesn't know how to express herself. And at this point in time, at the ages of 11 or 12, we often see eating disorders develop and serious self-worth issues that all tie in, and the coping may be self-harm. Also, what we do see, Sherilyn, is copying others. When they see their friend doing this, then their friend groups begin to do it. And so this is just something that we can't stress enough. If you find that this is happening, it's not a failure on your part. It's a signal that your daughter needs more support than she can access on her own. And it's very likely, I'm going to say it's probable, that she's desperately embarrassed about it. It's a private thing that she doesn't want to tell you about, but she needs your help. The most helpful first response is to stay calm, but take it seriously. Gently and safely increase connection by, we keep using these descriptive words, calmly, but that's important, to ground yourself and open the way for a conversation that allows you to convey loving concern. An abundance of love will pave the way to make it safe for her to trust you, that you're not going to shame her, but that you're going to be by her side and help her get help. Most importantly, self-harm has to be, you need to seek professional support. Therapists know how to handle this, and especially with adolescents. Instead, self-harm is a silent cry for help and can transition, as we said, into more damaging coping behaviors. It's progressive. It's not just going to go away. So shame, panic, and punishment will shut the door, likely for a long, long time. Safety, consistency, and compassion will keep that door open. And so, this is a very sensitive subject,
Yeah.
but important.
Yeah, and it's hard as a mother, right? If you were to find that out about a coping behavior that your daughter's doing that's hurting herself, that's so hard on your heart, and it's easy to respond with shock even, and some ways it can be damaging. And I love what you've expressed, Debbie, and the spirit that you've expressed it in, that this safety, consistency, and compassion is the way into their hearts. And so we know too that as mothers, when you see this, that you're experiencing really hard emotions too, emotions that may be hard to say out loud. So as mothers begin to kind of notice these emotional and behavioral changes, and feel their daughters pulling away. Some of the emotions that you may feel as a mom are a sense of rejection, a sense of helplessness, like, wow, what do I do now? What on earth do I do with this? You're afraid of saying the wrong thing. With all of those kind of emotions, then there's this grief too that comes over the loss of the closeness that you used to have, and some guilt that can sit in, and you start to wonder, what on earth have I done wrong? What is happening? What have I done to cause this? We always look at things from an attachment lens, don't we, Debbie? And this season can activate a mother's own attachment wounds. You know, if she's learned to cope by staying strong or staying quiet or staying in control, these attachment wounds and coping behaviors can accelerate or exaggerate during these times. If you, again, if this sounds familiar to you and you're hurting right now, we want to tell you once again that you're not alone. This is a common experience for most mothers and daughters, but your pain matters. It matters so much. And in your efforts to support your daughter and the needs that she has, oh goodness, we don't want you to erase yourself or discount any of the heartache that you're feeling. We truly do see your pain.
Yes, and we hope that we can stress that you are not alone. This is not rare. And if you've spoken with your friends and they happen to have adolescent daughters, don't compare yourself to those mothers who have a daughter that just happens to be light and happy and joyful, and then you look at yourself as a failure. Not at all. So, we want to help you understand how to stay connected when it might feel absolutely impossible. So, these are some of the things that you can do to be proactive and how to manage these difficult feelings and confusing new disconnection with your daughter. The most difficult shift is that connection during adolescence looks different than it did in childhood. There are some important considerations that are helpful to keep in mind. So, first, try to regulate yourself before trying to connect with your daughter. If you're panicking and you notice, maybe you've noticed that she's harming herself or that she's so deeply depressed or so angry. A calm nervous system is more powerful than perfect words. Perfect isn't possible, remember. So notice the emotions that surface in you, and instead of pushing them down, acknowledge them. Acknowledge your feelings. Give yourself permission to hurt. Processing the feelings that you're experiencing with your spouse or a dear friend can be so de-stressing. It takes away that stress that you might feel. You might even find that your friend is experiencing the same thing with their daughter.
I love this, Debbie. You're not talking about as mothers pushing things aside. You want us to feel it,
Yeah.
to acknowledge it and to process. And then that allows us to show up with our daughter with the confidence that they're looking for. I'm thinking about how beneficial it would be for a daughter to look at a mother who shows up with calmness and confidence in these situations. The daughter's looking for that, right? And so what you've just described allows us to show up in that way for our daughter who's watching our every move, our facial expressions, to see that this calm confidence in us that we are here and we're present and we're regulated and we want to help. So I love what you just talked about. And so another thing that you can try to do when it feels impossible, I love that you use that word because it does feel impossible sometimes with our daughters, is that we can reconnect with them leading with curiosity, not correction. We love these words. We talk about it a lot. Help me understand. Go so much further than advice. And this gentle approach demonstrates that you're a safe person, that you're not going to be critical, and that your intent, your pure intent, is to simply be supportive and not combative. Our next suggestion is to name what you see without judgment. You may say something like, hey, I've noticed that things seem heavy for you lately. Questions that are said gently without judgment can be just maybe the window they need to be able to talk to you. And so opening up in this way that isn't critical or judgmental, but more empathetic and welcoming can go a long ways for your daughter. Another suggestion we have is to lower the pressure for constant talking. You know, sometimes they just need to sit with what's happening. And so suggesting a quick trip to the local burger hangout, sitting across from each other with food in front of you, taking, I guess, the pressure off, like we have to talk, right? And just softening that and inviting communication, but low pressure communication. Even riding in a car together is a great way to warm up the connection. Sitting side by side still counts. And so coming up with ways to connect in gentle ways without a lot of pressure to make your daughter feel like, oh my goodness, we have to talk. We have to figure this out all the time.
Yeah. I like this quote from the great movie, if you build it, they'll come. And I always say, if you feed them, they'll talk, or they will just feel safe with you. And that captive audience in your car. I think the most important term to use, the attitude to take, is curiosity, not lecture. So be consistent with that too. Even when your daughter pushes you away, let her know you're not leaving. I will always be here for you. That gentle, I'm here for you. I know you probably don't really want to talk right now. Just know I am here for you when you're ready. Just take your time. Your steady presence becomes the safety net she probably will not acknowledge, but deeply relies on. Just that emotional, I know my mom is there. Social media plays a very powerful and complicated role in a teen girl's moods because it immediately intersects directly with their brain development. That dopamine release of the excitement of cruising on the internet through Instagram or the social media platforms, it interferes with identity formation and attachment needs. So we want to talk for a few minutes about this. Here are key ways that it affects mood, both negatively and sometimes positively. So this next section is really focused intently on social media play in mom and teen disconnection.
This is a really important aspect of this in teenage daughters is social media. We all know that. But it doesn't necessarily create emotions. It actually intensifies what's already there. So a teen that already feels insecure, they'll start to feel more insecure, right? Especially after scrolling. Or a teen who feels left out and they'll feel more rejected than they already did. So think about the teen who already struggles, right, with anxiety. Then they may become hyper focused on comparison or approval after surfing through social media. So the element of social media, it just intensifies these emotions that are already there that they're struggling and suffering with.
Oh, and I'm certain that moms that are listening to this can relate to comparison and body image pressure. This is a really important one to focus on and understand what's happening in the adolescent brain. It is especially sensitive to social reward and rejection. The likes that we're hoping that we'll get, or views or comments, they're all emotionally charged. And this causes your daughter to focus on their weaknesses as compared to social media influencers and their presentation of perfection and the ideal. That's pretty much what you find out there. So, teen girls are exposed to constant curated images of beauty, popularity, success, and those perfect relationships. All of this leads to lower self worth, body dissatisfaction, mood swings linked to appearance based validation, and a major increased risk for depression and disordered eating. So, even when teens know images are filtered or staged, their developing brain and nervous system often responds as if they're real.
Yeah, and if I could keep adding to what you're saying, Debbie, one thing that's really unique about social media is it doesn't ever turn off, right? So in previous generations, social life would kind of end at the school day. I remember being in junior high and walking home, and by the time I got home, I'd kind of flushed out all of the things that had happened at school and I was okay. In our world today, our young daughters, it never turns off. It actually creates kind of a 24/7 pure visibility, and so they have this ongoing constant fear of missing out. We all know the term FOMO, right?
Yeah.
And there's a constant pressure to respond, to post. I especially want to highlight this to perform at high levels for people. And so this creates, again, these great levels of anxiety about being left out or excluded and a constant vigilance. That's so wearing on our nervous systems and contributes to this emotional exhaustion and irritability that we're talking about. So mood contagion and emotional overload is really a part of this, and teen girls are especially vulnerable to this contagion. We call it a peer contagion, right, online. They absorb their friends' distress through dramatic posts, alarming, a lot of posts on self-harm with content or despair-themed messaging. And that can influence your daughter and bring behaviors that are unwanted. So without emotional, mature filters, these can create, like we've talked about, this intense sadness, anxiety, or hopelessness. even if the content isn't about them, it affects them, right? In really disturbing ways.
It really does. And the one thing I want us to be really careful about is that our listeners don't assume that we're saying that social media is bad, because we actually are on social media. We are active social media posters, but our sensitivity to this issue is acute, and we want our posts to be worthwhile and uplifting so that when people leave, they feel better about themselves, not worse. So what we want to do is just suggest, even you moms, that social media has been around long enough that you're well aware of social media, and maybe it's important to you too. So this might be helpful for you to consider, but this does explain that disconnection with your daughter, sleep disruption, mood regulation, social media use late at night, including the stimulation of the light that comes from the device. So the content increases emotional reactivity. We're trying to wind down, and it worsens anxiety. It speeds up and can contribute to depressive symptoms, because anxiety and depression are shadows of each other. So sleep loss alone can dramatically intensify mood swings in adolescence. And then this validation seeking, humans respond to it. Adolescence is a time where they're asking, who am I? Do I belong? Where am I going? How can I find value and love? You, mom, are the greatest source for the truth, but they're going to look for it on social media. So social media can tie that self-worth to external approval, and it really makes identity feel fragile for them. So achievements, external accomplishments become the focus. That does not build self-worth. This is research tells us that external accomplishments are only temporary builders of view of self. So it's a powerful influence on mood crashes when validation is absent. And it truly is on social media. It's self-comparison to others and us when we like validating others. So for teen girls, this often shows up as heightened sensitivity, withdrawal, or sudden mood shifts.
Such good stuff to think about, Debbie. And as you mentioned before, we do understand that social media isn't all bad, that it can be helpful. It's not all harmful. Social media can provide connection actually for isolated teens when they navigate to sites that offer mental health education, or it can help teens find communities where they feel seen, where they feel like they belong. Sites developed and maintained by responsible content builders, they really do provide resources and information that can help reduce shame. However, this is the case only when the healthy, supported content is present. The quality of content and the emotional state of the teen matter more than the platform itself. So, what can moms do without getting into kind of power struggles? It can be really difficult, right, to determine what's the right balance for your teen daughter and social media. And so moms are wise if they'll focus again on curiosity rather than controlling it. So, for example, ask your daughter, how do these certain apps make you feel? Maybe not even how long she's on them. How do they make you feel? Is a good way to just approach this really difficult and challenging part of our world with compassion and curiosity.
You suggested without those battles, the power battles, or being negative about the use. It's more being curious and say, well, what does that make you feel? But also, we are fans of self-care. And so what you can do is cultivate an understanding and appreciation in your daughter to normalize breaks without punishment. So think about it this way. Suggest taking a break. It's like giving you a reboot. They can relate to that because they're on computers, or a second wind. And it helps your daughter understand the balance, the importance of balance. So protecting your daughter's sleep hours should be emphasized as a mental health priority. So instead of talking about it as being bad, having your phone at nighttime is bad, you're saying this will help your mental health. And so implementing a policy that we're talking about is social media or device contracts. Families can have them. And so, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but implementing a policy of no phones after bedtime and no device zones are helpful boundaries to enforce. So here's what we suggest. that you have a family device contract. And what you do is every member of the family sits down around the table to talk about the policies and procedures and goals regarding the devices in the home. So this way, every person, including your daughter, contributes to the rules and the expectations. So you have this piece of paper that you build the contract with everyone contributing. And so then they also contribute to the consequences. What are the consequences that will be enforced if a rule is broken or abused? If they've helped come up with those, then when they're imposed, mom is relieved of the position of the bad cop. And so it makes sense to them. And it really teaches them about collaboration, negotiation, and their future business that they might be running themselves.
Yeah, I love this. We have to be examples of this as mothers. And so this systemic kind of look at how we handle phones, I love this, that we're all contributing and commenting and deciding. So if we could just sum up for moms, social media, as we've talked about, it's a mood magnifier in this really critical developmental season that's already marked by intensities. So we know it can deepen insecurities, anxiety, and sadness. But with support and boundaries and ongoing connection, it doesn't have to define your daughter's emotional health. So we know social media affects teen girls' moods because their brains are still learning how to manage all of these big emotions. And online spaces, we know they're full of comparison and constant feedback. So the likes, the comments, and what they see in other girls posting really can quietly shape how they feel about themselves, often without realizing it.
Yeah, it happens so fast and so subtly, that little trickle effect of this constant use of it. We want to just suggest that being aware of this, a hard day at school can feel heavier after scrolling. If they're exhausted, it's only going to contribute to that. Feeling left out can feel even more painful and lonely when it looks like everyone else is included. It also makes it hard for their nervous systems to rest. Social life never really turns off, especially at night. We've already talked about poor sleep. The goal for you, mom, isn't to panic or police every app. It's to remain curious, to notice patterns, protect their sleep, and keep the relationship strong. When a daughter feels emotionally safe with her mom, social media has far less power over her mood. And we want to also just reinforce early intervention is a wonderful way to prevent further damage.
I love that. We want to close this with a message of hope that this season of your daughter's development is hard because it matters so much to you, right? We care so much about our daughters, our precious daughters. She's becoming someone new, and you're actually becoming a different kind of mother. And so the whole relationship on both sides is being reshaped, not destroyed. It can feel like it's self-destructing, right? It's actually just being reshaped. I love reframing it that way. And one day when your daughter moves through this stage and becomes a young adult, she will want to know that you're still there for her, particularly as she becomes a mother herself. If you're walking through mood swings or distance or depression or fear, we want you to know this. You're not alone. Your daughter's not broken. And with support, honesty, and connection, powerful healing and closeness are possible. Even some of the greatest intimate moments are possible through this, things that both of you will never forget, even in the middle of the mess. So please remember that when your daughter pushes you away, the thing that she longs for the most, the thing that matters the most is your steady presence. She needs to know that you're there and that this season is not the end of your relationship. Again, it's a reshaping. So we hope today that in all of this, that you'll remember to stay close, to stay curious, and that connection is not built by perfection. It's built by the consistent ways we show up again and again and again in the lives of our daughters.
Yes. And, we want to speak to you, moms that are in pain. And we want to just remind you that your consistency as the nurturer and your consistent love is so much more powerful than you realize. Even when you feel shut out, you're still her safe place. That maternal child instinct to connect to you is still there. It will never go away. I want to suggest, as we wrap this up and conclude, you are the best example for your daughter about how to be a woman strong, rising above the noise of the world, speaking up and speaking out. And remember, asking for help with your daughter isn't a weakness, it's love in action. So thank you for showing up for your daughters and for yourself. So, Sherilyn, the therefore what is here?
Yeah, I'm thinking about all this. I don't have daughters right now these ages, but I have granddaughters these ages. And so I think my therefore what is to be, as a mother of my own daughter who's raising a teenage girl, to be more supportive of her, more compassionate of her. Maybe ask some questions. How are you feeling about raising this daughter right now? What's hard for you? And maybe be, as a grandmother and a mother, more support in this developmental phase. I'm thinking of specific questions I can ask with curiosity and support for my own daughter who's navigating this with her teenage daughter.
Yes. My therefore what really is I want to remind everyone this is an imperfect world. And these ideas that we've given you, hopefully you feel validated and understand that we understand it is difficult and it may not resolve today, tomorrow, next week, but this is the middle of your story with your daughter. And just know that there is help available. This sweet mother that reached out to me and said, can you talk about this? Scheduled for her daughter to go with her for professional help to explore what can we do? How can I help my daughter feel my love and support as she navigates this difficult world? So my therefore what is, again, don't feel like a failure or a weakness if you ask for help. So thank you so much for listening to us today.
We're so grateful you're all here. Thank you so much. We hope you have a great week.